If you've been following my videos on my new YouTube channel, you'll know that we recently had a slight failure with the suspended cord system, where I can raise or lower the layout up to the ceiling away from what I regard as my sort of work area. One of the closed eye hooks failed on me, so I've now beefed all those up, and hopefully that shouldn't happen again. But anyway, it's winched up to the ceiling now, and it's going to stay there for a few weeks because I've got quite a lot of locomotive work to do, both repairs and also to build some kits. I've got some Kitwood Hill Model kits, mainly flat cars, the top of my head. Also some Backwoods Miniatures projects, like a vertical boiler. But anyway, I thought whilst it's up there, it might be a good time to just shoot a video on the underneath. Now bear in mind, I am a beginner at all this, so this was my first layout, but you'll get the idea on how the construction went. It's very heavy, by the way. It uses a bit of foam, but not very much. So these are quite substantial timbers. As you can see, I cut loads of holes out with a hole saw to reduce the weight, and also to help run the wiring from the various places on the layout. It's all glued up with Gorilla wood glue, the sort of yellow colour version, which I think is stronger. So as I say, as a relative beginner, this isn't supposed to be a how-to expert article, but if there are other beginners like me who haven't yet started or not that far on, you might learn something from this, possibly how not to do it. But I'll just sort of wander around. I've got 3 power bus loops, if you like, installed. I've used in the UK our sort of 13 amp cable for that, and then with one of these smart wire strippers you can just power away the outer plastic sheathing where you want to pick up on a soldered connection, so that made it quite a lot easier. I have used what we call chocolate box connectors in a few places, which probably wasn't entirely wise, because they are renowned for causing some breakages from time to time because the wires are just clamped in with a screw. But I can get at all these quite easily, so I think if that did happen, I'd find out what the problem was and how to fix it. I've got some tiny plugs and sockets here where some items sitting on top of the layout, especially buildings, can be removed if I wanted them to. So we've got power droppers here coming down from the rails. I've got 1 or 2 resistors in place to reduce the voltage, and there, for example, there's a diode there which is used with one of the isolated sections of track. That's one of 3 speakers I've got. That's from Amazon, because I built my own MP3 sound system, background sound system. There's 24 selectable sounds, and I've got 3 speakers connected to that. This one is over near where one of the mine adits is, so that tends to be used for the sounds that are like dynamite exploding and rock drilling going on and things like that. I've labelled up quite a lot with a label machine. The space has been used, I think, reasonably efficiently. I think if I was to do it again, I might loom these things up a bit differently. Up on the front of the fascia here, there's one of these voltage control gadgets, so you can, with a digital readout, so you can control the voltage output to whatever you want, and it'll display that. Use cable ties to loop some of the cables together. You can see 2 of the point motors there. These are just standard regular Pico, I call them clunk point motors. Not the best technology or particularly quiet, but they're relatively straightforward So these are all barring, I think 2 of them are under the layout. The only curse was where, having put all the cross braces and the diagonal braces in, laid the track. Of course, this chap Murphy cropped up again. Murphy's Law, we say in England, if I don't want to use rude words. And some of the point motors were needed to be placed exactly where these timbers were. So that was a bit of a curse. So in a couple of cases, I've had to fit surface mounted and then disguise them. This is Spaghetti Junction. If you don't know the UK, there's a mass of roads around Birmingham with roads going everywhere. This is a bit like that. So this looks chaos, but actually I do know what goes where. There's some big block terminals there. I've got all my sort of control console there with all the point switches, the isolation switches and so forth. Capacitor discharge unit. Moving over here, we've got some of the power supplies. There's several in use. Of course, I've got switchable DC or DCC options on what I'm calling Power District A, and that switch with the double pole changeover. But they've got their own separate power supplies. Let's swivel a bit around this way. I've used copper strip, you see, in a few places. That used to be used. I used to race slot cars years ago. Not Scalextrics, but the highly technical, very quick ones. And we'd use copper tape when we were making our own racing layout for the contacts. But it's actually quite convenient. You just run a strip underneath. It's self-adhesive, and it'll provide you with power for you to pick up on that where you need it. As another one of the Amazon speakers. That one's a bit bigger, so it gives you a bit more bass. Over here we've got the Kitwood Hills turntable. It's a tiny one. What's it, about 4 inches or so? All powered, of course. That's all the guts for that. And I've made it removable, so if I need to remove the turntable to carry out any maintenance work on the gears or replace the motor or anything, then it's relatively straightforward to do that. Some more diodes in place, as you can see there, isolator. So that will only allow current one way, so you can drive a loco into a section. For example, that's one of the mine adit entrances. So you drive the loco in until you get to the break in the track, which was done with a Dremel cut-off disc. And then that's as far as it'll go until you reverse the direction, and the diode will then allow the current to flow. Lots of building lighting. I've got loads of lights on all sorts. It's possible to put a light on it. I pretty much did. So you switch all the main lights off here and put those on. It's quite good fun. So the youngsters in the family enjoy that. Anyway, there we are. Feel free to ask any questions on the YouTube comments section. I'll do my best to get back to you. But anyway, first layout. It's not a masterpiece, but it all works, so I guess that's a bit of a result, isn't it? Good luck with your construction and wiring especially.